An exiled king looking for revenge. A magnificent dragon sitting in his way. A wandering wizard wanting to change things. How does this all add up to a hobbit being the answer? Well, hello and welcome to The Broken Sword. Today we are looking at just why Gandalf chose Bilbo Baggins for the Hobbit adventure.
Build me a army worthy of Mordor.
Mithrandir. Why the halfling?
Let us travel back around 90 years to when J.R.R. Tolkien first put ink to paper in his quest to write the children's tale that is known today as The Hobbit. By the time of completion, Mr. Tolkien would have a story in front of him where the dwarves, exiled from their home of Erebor, are led by Thorin Oakenshield, as well as being accompanied by the wandering grey wizard Gandalf. But what was their goal though? Well, they had the wish to reclaim their dwarven home under the mountain from the terrifying dragon, Smaug, the one that had forced them to flee all those years before. But it might be worth quickly looking at just why Gandalf even wanted to get involved in this first. It was not his home. He did not really have any connection with these dwarves. So why would he want to challenge a power of the likes of Smaug for them? To get that answer, we must flick through the pages from the Unfinished Tales of Númenor and Middle-earth book until we reach the appendix of the Quest of Erebor section. Here we see where Gandalf talks about the worry he holds about this magical and mysterious being known as the Necromancer, who at this time was residing within Dol Guldur in Mirkwood. And then, if you couple that up with the dragon Smaug and the terrifying firepower he possessed, Gandalf was no fool to realise that if they potentially became allies, then that could spell immense trouble for not just the lands like that of Lorien nearby, but surely all of Middle-earth. I was beginning to be seriously troubled about the situation in the north when I met Thorin Oakenshield one day. In the middle of March 2941, I think. I heard all his tale, and I thought, well, here is an enemy of Smaug at any rate, and one worthy of help. I must do what I can. I should have thought of the dwarves before. So, as we see from there, it was actually a bit of a chance meeting that set all things in motion. Gandalf needed Smaug to be gone. He could not dare have the Necromancer, or in other words, Sauron, gain such an ally. So thankfully, having a should-be dwarven king want the same outcome, even if not for the same reasons, then this was a path that he must explore. With that, we understand why Gandalf wanted to be involved in this quest with the dwarves. But next, why would he want to put a hobbit of all beings into this party? Yes, some dwarves of the Blue Mountains would pass through the Shire from time to time on their travels, but there was not exactly an unbreakable bond between them. Gandalf even says how when passing through himself, Thorin would not ever stop long enough there as he did not consider them useful. Thorin had an arrogant disregard for the hobbits. He considered them as simple food growers who just happened to work the fields on either side of the dwarves' ancestral road to the mountains. When Gandalf brings it up in the meeting with Thorin, Balin and Glóin later, Glóin responds with, "One of those simpletons down in the Shire? What use on earth or under it could he possibly be?" Not exactly a welcoming thought. Gandalf knew the dwarves did not hold the respect for the hobbits though, but he nonetheless fought his corner. Hobbits move without effort more quietly than any dwarf in the world could manage, though his life depended on it. They are, I suppose, the most soft-footed of all mortal kinds. You do not seem to have observed that, at any rate, Thorin Oakenshield, as you tramped through the Shire, making a noise, I may say, that the inhabitants could hear a mile away. When I said that you would need stealth, I meant it. Professional stealth. So from here it did take some bending of the truth in labelling Bilbo as a professional burglar to get them on side. But on side they came. And I suppose as well, having Gandalf himself telling them, "If you persuade this hobbit to join you, you will succeed. If you do not, you will fail. If you refuse even to try, then I have finished with you. You will get no more advice or help from me until the shadow falls on you." That does make you think hard about it. Now, we know why Gandalf wanted to get involved. We know why he now wants a hobbit. And he very much had one in mind at this point. After all, just before this time, Gandalf's mind did begin to wander to that of the Shire. Gandalf had developed a great bond and fondness with that land after seeing their heart and courage from their suffering and overcoming during the long winter. And these people stayed forever in his heart, even if it was just for a bit of Longbottom Leaf at times. In fact, Gandalf even came to believe that the hobbits of the Shire were becoming too self-involved and just oblivious to that of the wider outside world. Gandalf knew a great deal about what the future problems might be, and so to come through everything that they had, they would need something more when this next darker threat came to their doorstep. Although what that something was at this point to Gandalf wasn't completely clear, although he did have a good idea. The hobbits had begun to forget even their own beginnings and legends and anything at all of that outside world. So to counter this, he needed to give them the right amount of fear and precaution as a race, and he knew that this was something that could not be done quickly. Meaning, for this time at least, Gandalf had to choose someone more ready amongst them. So, with that bit of background to the race this time, we will continue to our answer in the Unfinished Tales once again. This time where we see Pippin ask the very question of why he chose Bilbo, and Gandalf gives a fairly lengthy answer. "How would you select any one hobbit for such a purpose?" said Gandalf. "I had not time to sort them all out, but I knew the Shire very well by that time, although when I met Thorin I had been away for more than 20 years on less pleasant business. So naturally thinking over the hobbits that I knew, I said to myself, I want a dash of the Took, but not too much, Master Peregrine. And I want a good foundation of the soldier sword, a Baggins perhaps." That pointed at once to Bilbo, and I had known him once very well, almost up to his coming of age, better than he knew me. I liked him then, and now I found that he was unattached to jump on again, for of course I did not know all this until I went back to the Shire. I learned that he had never married. I thought that odd, though I guessed why it was, and the reason that I guessed was not the one that most of the hobbits gave me, that he had early been left very well off and his own master. No, I guessed that he wanted to remain unattached for some reason deep down which he did not understand himself, or would not acknowledge, for it alarmed him. He wanted, all the same, to be free to go when the chance came, or he made up his courage. I remembered how he used to pester me with questions when he was a youngster about the hobbits that had occasionally gone off, as they said in the Shire. So it was almost a little bit like making up a portion of all the different elements he was looking for and coming out with Bilbo. And as well, as previously mentioned with Gandalf's talks with Thorin and the others, Gandalf urges the utmost secrecy of their quest, meaning no more than a few kingsmen or faithful followers should go. In fact, the fewer the better. Gandalf also tells the dwarves of the dragon's memory and cunning and how he has an everlasting thought of the sounds of dwarf feet, and the smell of them too. So again, they would need something different. A hobbit. The chances of Smaug having ever come into contact with or even heard of a hobbit before was so minute. And so that was it. A hobbit it shall be. And that hobbit who lived at Bag End in the Shire would have Gandalf carve a mark on his door for the others to find. And with that now rounded up, that is why Gandalf the Wizard chose Bilbo Baggins the Hobbit of all the beings in the world to help the company of Thorin Oakenshield on their quest. The need for stealth and confusion when approaching Smaug meant that they needed something that the dragon had never encountered previously. And as well as that the hobbits as a race in general needed to become more aware and involved with the greater world once more. War was once again upon Middle-earth, and the chances of the Shire avoiding it were almost impossible. So, if nothing changed, they were almost like sitting ducks, and they would not stand a chance. So hopefully that answers the question for you all, and this really is just another event that shows how wise Gandalf truly was. And now this leads me to my question for you all today, and that is, if Smaug and Sauron had actually formed an alliance, do you think that would have meant a different outcome in the War of the Ring? Gandalf certainly thought so, but please let me know all of your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section below. In fact, even doing a video on the Smaug and Sauron potential alliance would be a really fun one to do for a video, so if you would like to see that, please leave me a comment of Smaug and Sauron in the comment section below. And now firstly to quickly mention our other channels, which will of course be linked in the description below, and also to shout out our patrons. Firstly, we have our Divine Power tier members of Kevin and Abram, you are both awesome, and a big thanks to our Fire Demon tier members of Nashith, Denversteel and Gregory, and finally I cannot forget the Wizard Staff tier members of John, Andrew and Jennifer as well. Every single one of you is a true legend of the Brohirrim. And finally, if you've managed to reach the very end of this video with me today and you have enjoyed what you've seen, then please do all the great stuff. Hit the like button on the video, please hit the subscribe button for the channel and the bell icon too, so that you can be notified of all of our future uploads. We have recently managed to pass 170,000 subscribers on the channel, which is an amazing accomplishment in basically 1 year of this channel existing. You are all incredible people and I cannot thank you all enough. But now, let's try and approach that 200,000 goal. And so really, with that final thing said, all I've got left to say is thank you very much if you have managed to reach the very end of this video with me today, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.